What's up, YouTube? This is rapmastayoda from Dark Lords coming at you today. We've got a special video I've hooked up with my YouTube partner, Templar. You can see his logo down there to bring you this Death Moff Thrawn video. What we're doing is we're taking advantage of Grand Moff's Tarkin leadership, plus the added turn meter that we get from Thrawn and Shoretrooper special ability, and beating up our opponents and putting them in a tempo black hole. So let's jump into the footage and check it out. So, this team takes advantage of turn meter, and one of the first ways we're going to do that is use Thrawn's fracture ability. Then we're going to use intimidation tactics to accelerate into ultimate firepower, bring down their turn meter, and then start beating these guys down. Shoretrooper's special while his taunt is up is that he gives everybody turn meter. We're using drain force to cool stuff down, and then Thrawn's ability is also giving us some added turn meter on all these specials. As you can see, we've already significantly slowed down the aggressive opening that our opponent's wedge lead rebel team is going to have, and we've already given ourselves a significant advantage in the match. As the fight continues, you can see that we're using a lot of basics and we're spreading the love around, essentially just using some of the control elements and trying to avoid letting this team get off the ground and start doing what it's doing. So here our Death Troopers stunned. We're going to give them full turn meter with Grand Admiral's command. Then we're going to use track down, which is wonderful against these rebel type teams. As you can see, we daze and then stun baze, which is awesome. Now the team is starting to build up a whole lot of buffs. They've got a lot of good stuff going on their side. So we're going to cool their abilities down, and we're going to use one of the best abilities out there right now, which is this Death Trooper grenade. This clears all the buffs on the enemy. It's great for teams like this, especially with the Baze and Chirrut combo, where they're giving each other a lot of procs. There's a lot of buffs going on. So as you can see, now we get to use the Death Mark ability on Death Trooper, and what that allows us to do is quickly clear an enemy by applying Death Mark and then dealing massive damage. We're going to fracture again. We're going to continue to beat down on the Baze, and then here in a moment our AoE is just going to go ahead and start cleaning things up. And then you can see we've got a pretty easy road to victory. We annihilate the R2 and move on. Now, we get into a new team composition that we're facing with the second fight. As you can see, we've still got a Baze and Chirrut team, but this is a Rex lead with GK and the Annihilator himself, DN. As you can see, to start off, we use the grenade to clear the taunt, and then we start going to work. One of the great things about this team is Darth Nihilus fits into it very well because there are a lot of debuffs being applied. So generally, when we use that Drain Force ability, we're getting maximum value and cooling down as many enemies as possible and speeding up our Annihilate as much as possible. Our team is very good against this Rex lead as our turn meter acceleration, where we've got two abilities granting 15% on these specials. That's outweighing the turn meter loss that we're getting as we accelerate the other team with all the critical hits that we're causing. Now, as the fight continues on, we do have the ability to control them with our disruptive elements, but the Baze and Chirrut combo, especially with GK, they're able to continue to cleanse themselves and add even more buffs, so we'll need to refresh that grenade. One great thing we can do with this team is use Thrawn's ability to switch turn meters and accelerate the Death Trooper out of his turn. Annihilate is super clutch with this team as we create so much tempo advantage that we're able to easily get to Annihilate before the opponent does. And as you can see, we didn't even need to try to annihilate our opponent's Nihilus because we've slowed them down so much that we can just go ahead and deal natural lethal damage to them. And using that fracture definitely helps. We've also got the Death Mark that we can apply with the Death Trooper. Very easy to take teams like this apart. So now we get to take a look at a different composition. While we're still under Rex lead with Baze and Chirrut, this time we get to see how we stack up against opposing Thrawns. Now the great thing is we are much faster with Moff's ability leadership, so we are able to fracture their Thrawn first, making sure we avoid getting fractured, apply some debuffs, and then reset all their cooldowns with Force Drain, and that induces the tempo black hole that we talked about at the start of the video. Now what am I saying when I talk about tempo? Tempo is the speed at which the fight is moving. Tempo is one of the fundamental elements of a team and an arena matchup, and using teams like this that abuse the tempo and either create internal tempo, they speed themselves up, or give the opposing team negative tempo. In this case, we're doing both. Anytime you have a team like that, that's great. It's very easy to control your opponents. You're going to have an easy time on offense, and then teams like this also a lot of times, because of the way the abilities are prioritized, are going to do some of the similar things on defense. Now here we're taking advantage of the speed boost from the leadership ability on Grand Moff Tarkin, which definitely gives us a leg up on the other guys. So up speed plus turn meter reduction plus insane turn meter boost from the combination of Thrawn and Shoretrooper, their two unique abilities, just makes this team absolutely bonkers. Another thing to note about this team is that this is currently the best shell to slot Death Trooper in. I think Death Trooper is low-key one of the most underrated characters in the game, and he really needs to find a home. The grenade plus the Terminate ability where he applies Death Mark paired with Darth Nihilus is just insane. So to wrap up, I'd just like to say thank you again to my man Knights Templar. I'd also like to thank my man Paco Knott, who made this awesome Admiral Thrawn beat especially for this video. If you've got a lot of Rex leadership and Baze and Chirrut type teams, this team could be really good for you. It's definitely worth taking a look at. Give it a try, put it together, have fun. Like, subscribe, share.